What's up? It's your boy Kinda Random, aka Justin, and welcome to my first ever Reddit video. Hell yeah. First off, I just want to say thank you to the FF14 community that let me post these poll questions on Reddit. There's a lot of different Reddit, I guess, like communities that did not let me make a poll. So I'm very, very thankful that I was allowed to ask these questions. So in this video, it's gonna be a very chill vibe. I'm gonna throw on some nice music from a game called Catherine. Drink some of my, honestly, it's just like sparkling water, but it's out of a nice little mug. So sit back, relax, grab a drink, and we're about to go through these Reddit posts and see what won in my first ever FF14 Reddit questions. I want to see the results. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right. So I made 3 posts. So the first question I did, this was 6 days ago. The voting closed 3 days ago. So we had, my God, thank you guys so much in Reddit for the engagement. We had a lot of votes here, guys. A lot of votes, a lot of engagement, a lot of comments. So this is gonna be really fucking cool. So I said, what is the toughest role to play in the game, including all content, to MSQ all the way to ult, EX, etc. So ult is ultimate, EX is etc. This is about FF14. This is FF14 Reddit, So I'm not too surprised about this. It seems that healer is voted to be the toughest role to play in the entire game. Tank got very low votes. So we have 108 for tank, 219 for DPS, and 281 for healer. Wow. Yeah, I'm not surprised by this. I had a feeling healer would probably be the one people would say that's the hardest role to play, and I will get to that. I will get to my opinion at the very end after I go through the comments, but I'm a little bit shocked on the tank part, but there's a reason why that's so low as well. So let's get to the comments. What we got here? Okay, here we go. See, mine, yours is an easy role for casual players. The only correct. Okay. Let's see. Tank is the easiest role in the game. In recent disclosure has healers complaining that the role is not challenging enough. So the answer is DPS. Having to juggle the mechanics of a boss, dodging AoEs, keeping yourself alive while also keeping track of your own mechanics, positioning, resources is a lot to deal with. And I agree. I think DPS is a lot harder than people think it is. It's kind of funny. When I first played FF14, I thought DPS was a pushover. But FF14 was my very first MMO. I was very unknowledgeable. I never played anything else. So I thought the DPS had it easy. And god damn it, I was so wrong. I was so wrong when I figured out that it's fucking hard. It gets really tough. And you have a really complicated rotations that you have to manage while doing all the other mechanics that the boss in the fight wants you to do. It gets rough. So now it's a response to, so thank you to Blazing Carry, or I don't know, Sari? Yeah. So see, DPS classes are 2 different to jump to all lumps on one difficulty. You could play one of the healer ones, or you can just play summoner. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yes, he's saying that like DPS classes, they're just too different to lump under one difficulty because they play so, summoner really feels like they took healer DPS and what? Is there more to that, or let's see. Blazing's back, or dancer. Yeah, the skill level required between DPS jobs is very different per job. So the hardest to learn jobs are definitely the DPS variety. Oh my god. I think it's a concept of these two right here. Yeah, which is why I don't think you can just put them all under one difficulty. DPS always have the option to go with a class that is arguably easier to play than a tank. So you can make the argument that it's easiest role as well. Interesting. Yeah, this is tough because it varies from person to person, Let's see. My track record with jobs is Dragoon, Dancer, White Mage, Dark Knight. I don't know how easy Summoner is, but comparing my experience with Dark Knight, apparently one of the harder tank jobs, with Dancer, the second easiest DPS job, I don't agree the easiest DPS is easier than a tank. I'm gonna have to go with Blazing on this one, man. You know what I mean? I do think now that I've played up to post game Storm's Blood, and I played a lot of like different type of content in the game, and I really took a guy named Wes Adler's advice. Look him up, great guy that's for the community, FF14 guides and all that. He made a video called Learning All the Roles, or like, this is why you should learn all the roles. You should play every role in FF14, because then you learn about like how what everyone goes through. Like, I was a tank purely for a long time, and then I went to the healer, so then I learned what the tank was going through, and I learned like, oh my god, you know what I mean? So this is how it feels to be on the other side. You know, DPS 2, this is how it feels to be on the other side. Like, you don't know how it feels to be on the other side unless you play that role. If you stick to one role the whole game, you are missing out on a lot of stuff and a lot of game knowledge. So, Dancer is the second easy DPS. I agree with that, Blazing. I do believe that Summoner is the easiest, and then Dancer is right behind it. Dancer is not very difficult at all. To play, you know, those buffs, different story. You know, I have a friend at work. If you're watching this, you know, shout out. But yeah, I mean, I know those buffs for Dancer can be hard, but I still think Dancer is relatively easy as fuck. You know. All right, so let's get to Adam. Or Adam Antimala. No, I can't. I'm not gonna try. Let's see. In the end, it depends on the content. In low-level dungeons, tanks and healers actually need to pay attention, while DPS is extremely easy. In high-level dungeons, healers are super easy, as you just press one button while the tank will keep themselves alive without your help. That's interesting. Come back to that paragraph in a minute. For the rest, it depends on whether you want to consider how hard it is to do a decent enough job to clear content or to really excel. DPS is the hardest to fully optimize damage for, but I argue also the easiest to meet the minimum. Even in Savage, I never play Savage, so I can't talk here. Even in Savage, you are allowed to make many mistakes in your rotation and while still doing enough damage to clear. And I just forgot about my talking prop. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a talking prop. We got ourselves a talking prop here. It's not fully charged yet, but it'll do. So let's get back to what we were saying here. So even in Savage, you are allowed to make mistakes in your rotation while still doing enough damage to clear. Okay, as a tank, it is easier to optimize your damage, but you do have more responsibility for mitigation and mechanics usually. It also has a high skill ceiling for keeping people alive. If you pay attention, you can save people with cover, clemency. He's talking about Paladin, cover and clemency. TBN or HOC. You can also tank limit break at certain moments to avoid incoming deaths, but the strong majority of tanks, even Savage, does not have the awareness to do this, or is even aware that they should be doing this. I can't really comment on healers, but how hard the job is depends on a lot of the party as well. You know what, Adam? That was great. That was a very good explanation. So you're saying it varies per content. Now, I want to go back to the first paragraph, Adam, when you said that in low-level dungeons, tanks and healers actually have to pay attention. This is true. Even in low-level content, like Satasha, fucking to like Stone Vigil, like those are Realm Reborn stuff like that. You know, when you're tanking, you still gotta like know what the fuck you're kind of doing and what you're pulling, and you need to be able to group up the enemies kind of properly. Of course, it is pretty lenient in Satasha and like all the easier dungeons, but like it's trying to build you from a ground level. I do agree, DPS at low level is very easy. You know, like I was playing Black Mage with my friend, and it was just spamming fire, or like you have such a limited hotbar. It's very easy. You know what I mean? And I do agree about the DPS getting harder at high levels. That's what really got me. Like I was like, oh my god, there's so many buttons that I had to go to my second hotbar on my controller for my PS5 and kind of switch back and forth sometimes. It gets fucking crazy for some DPSs to maintain your mitigation. Now, as he was saying, healers apparently have it easier in higher dungeons. I did not know that. I haven't made it anything past level 70. So once I get at that level, I will make more videos and do more polls to, you know, accurately talk about that. Because, you know, I'm trying to just do a poll now and then work my way up to, you know, as I progress through the game. Be a lot of fun that way. So interesting to say that healers get easier as you get higher level. That's very interesting. I did not know that. And I guess that's cool. You know what I mean? I can see that. So he's pretty much saying that tanking is kind of just hard. You know, tanking's pretty, it's a lot harder than people think it is. And, yeah, okay. All right, Adam. So let's move on. It says, there are many dancers I've seen not pulling feathers for 2 minutes, even in Savage content. He responded to that. This is true, but also doesn't say much about how hard it is. Most people agree that tanks have the easiest rotation, yet it is rare to come across a tank that plays their job almost perfectly, even in Savage. True. I think when it comes to high level content, it's very different. You know, I heard Savage Ultimate. I'm sure tanking is hard in Savage Ultimate content. I would assume it is. As he said, there's a lot of things that even I wasn't aware of. Like Limit Break 3 is the only fight that I've had so far that a tank has to use Limit Break 3 is like fucking Alexander. You know? Like yeah, I think so. When like you have to pop it or you just die in the raid. And yes, the tank rotation is pretty simple for the damage, but depending on what tank you're playing, like Gunbreaker has a lot of like defensive tools that can be kind of hard to time right. Same with Paladin. Warrior is easy, but it focuses on self-mitigation and self-healing. That's why. Dark Knight, they say, is the hardest tank. Dark Knight to me has the lowest defense, but that's just my opinion. But it has like high damage. You know what I mean? Unless they change that. But Dark Knight is probably kind of hard to play. You know what I mean? I agree. G&B and Dark Knight are kind of rough sometimes. All right. Gonna need Sinzu for that one. All right, here we go. We got more people. All right. We got Loki Legion saying, having to juggle the mechanics of a boss, dodging AoEs. Okay, this is him responding. Okay. So it says, all this is done by every role in 4 and 8 man constant, so DPS ain't special. Might be harder on the black mage than a summoner, but still the same concept. I agree with tanks being easiest, but I think healers have it the worst. It might not be challenging after everyone has gear or the fight is figured out, but syncing with a co-healer during prog without a heal Mitchie is probably the hardest thing to do in hard 8 man content at Ultimate. So I'm learning a lot of game knowledge here. It seems like fucking Ultimate and Savage are fucking hard, dude. Like, there's really difficult stuff. And, wow, okay. We got DC Handle 1 saying that they all have difficulties in certain ways. Healer and tank are mechanically more simple, usually, but they carry a heavy responsibility within a party, in the sense that if they fuck up, then the whole party feels it. DPS is more forgiving with mistakes, but the trade-off is that their mechanics are usually a bit more involved. That you've usually focused on your job mirrors and enemy telegraphs at the same time, and it can feel hectic. This is probably one of the best answers. DC Handle 1, hell yeah, dude. Great answer. This is probably the best answer. So I agree with all this. Tank and healers, yes, it is more. The rotation is easy. I mean, I'm sorry to say it. You know what I mean? It's not very hard to do your it's a 1-2-3 combo with like some additional stuff for like, you know, even Gunbreaker with your continuation with the, you know what I'm talking about, Eye Gauge, Jugular Rip, you know, Abominable Tear, you know, like that combo that you do. It's really not hard to play the rotation of a tank or a healer. Healer 2 is just stone doses, broil for Solar. It's just pressing one button for your damage and then like a dot. So yeah, but the trade-off is, yeah, like I feel like tanking and healing, you have a huge fucking responsibility factor. Like, you know, yeah, if the healer fucks up, you're all dead. That's the thing about it. And I'm gonna save what I gotta say to the end, but I have a lot to say on that topic, so we'll move on. All right, struggled a lot with that at start. Do still wish there are 2 cursors you can use the healer. one for offensive abilities, one for healing. Yeah, that'd be nice. And they're exclusive to allies and enemies respectively, so you can keep the input method of left clicking on the entity. Just now when you click on the dead DPS on the floor to res them, your offense cursor will stay on the boss. I guess he's talking about like making it better for that content. Okay. Exo Ghosty XL says F keys makes it pretty easy. Actually, I have no idea how you can heal on a controller though. Oh bro, I've healed on a controller the whole time. I'm a console player. It's not too bad, but you need to get used to like how to move the cursor on the PS5 controller. But it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Yeah, it's like right here. We got glucose. Glucose. That's because I work in a fucking lab, bro. Glucose. I play healer primarily with controller. It's actually quite easy and comfortable. Yeah, it is. Yeah, okay, D-pad up, down for target party members, D-pad left and right target enemies. It's actually not that bad as it sounds. You can scope it. Yeah, I agree. Right here, these two comments right here, MBV and glucose, or you know, whatever. They're right. Healers is pretty simple to play on controller. It's not very hard, you know. Let's see. We got Viola Nuagen. Okay, that's cool. The annoying part here is that I could use the focus target on the boss because I need that on the main tank. Faster than pressing F2 or F3. Usually target a tank and then hitting the assist target gets me the boss, but not always. And it's annoying if I've just done something for someone else. I just need to change targets twice to get back to the boss. All of this is exactly why Astrologian is, in my opinion, the hardest job. Interesting. Everything else aside, having to change targets so damned often is something that other jobs don't require. That's actually pretty true, you know. You know, it was on for a bit, guys, but now it went ahead and fucking turned off. So now we're gonna charge up our talking prop. Charge it up more so he's going red. Let that charge for a bit. He says, yeah, I'm throwing something out the party every 20 seconds as Sage, but most of the time I'm keeping the boss targeted and just using that. It's a special like insta cure for Sage. It sounds like douche, but it's not. It's Doroshilo or whatever. On myself in MP recovery. Or against trash mobs, I'm keeping the tank targeted using my AoE to attack. But of course, in most situations against bosses, just hitting the target nearest gets me back to the boss in one press, so that's nice. Still, hitting the right function key to the right part member makes AST harder for me. Yeah, AST is just hard in general. You know, AST is just fucking hard. There's no doubt about that. Lopside Bench says, may I present you to the target your target's target keybind. What? Target your target's target keybind. What it does is making a button that allows you to quickly target the tank and boss with the same button press. What the fuck? As the boss target is always, I hope, the tank, and your tank's target is the boss. Wow, that's a good keybind. I don't use keybinds, but sounds useful. You know what I mean? Here we go. Black Metal or Metal. For casual content, healer is only because of the casual no mit tanks. For savage content is DPS. Everyone is doing the same mechanics. DPS has to keep a rotation to kill before enrage. For ultimates, it's tanks because they have so many tank specific mechanics and you have to carefully plan each mitigation all positioning with the boss correctly. Out of all of these, tanks and ultimates is the hardest role to play. So for casual content, healers. He's saying for savage, DPS, ultimate tank. So pretty much every single tier of FF14 has a different level of difficulty, he thinks, in each content, which that actually makes sense to me, you know. It's not a simple answer, but mostly boils down to if you are progressing or not. Are you progging a fight, healer, tank, DPS? Are you farming, DPS, tank, healer? Bonus. Are you a casual player doing normal content? Healer, DPS, tank. Only because healers have to try to survive while tanks, DPS can face roll their keyboard the entire fight. Damn, bro. Tank gets the bonus of being a being and to unbind all movement keys and still survive the mechanics. Yeah, I think for like a casual player, it's healer for sure. It's what they're trying to say. Healer. If tank DPS dies, most of the time healer gets the blame. That's true. Needed in DF most of the time, but often only showing tank needed. Oh, needed in duty fight most of the time also. So yeah, I don't know why it only shows tanks in the needed part. Like, why is it always tank in need? No, you need healers in need. You know how fast that Q fucking pops, my boy? It pops pretty fast. We got a lot to go through, guys. We got a lot to go through. Of course, I really can't read all of them. I'm trying to skim through all of them because, you know, I just want to, you know, get everyone at least some of the answers on the video. So I find the answer varies between someone's social difficulty versus mechanical difficulty. Tanks can be pretty busy while positioning and mitigations. Healers have a lot of reactions they must take. DPS have more insane combos they must sort out while still handling mechanics. I personally give the DPS only by the slightest of margins. Interesting. Shield healer in on one patch. Wait, shield healer in on one patch. Open savage. One pong. Pure healer for savage. Okay. A lot of people are talking about savage ultimate content. Yeah. When it comes to high-end content, it really depends on the fight or specific mechanic or phrase. Some fights are really rough on tanks, some on healers, some on DPS in general, or on a specific DPS role. There are also a lot of variants within roles, particularly DPS. So that person is saying it depends on the content. All right, here we go. Here comes a good question right here. Real quick, we are 22 minutes in. That's actually not that bad. Okay, here we go. Healer is the hardest role when the duty is brand new or more people are freshly progging. The easiest role when everything is figured out and everyone is re-clearing on muscle memory. Yeah, that's true. DPS is the easiest role when fresh on progging, but in my opinion is the hardest when aiming for the first couple of clears in Savage Plus content. It settles in the middle when you reach the muscle memory re-clear stage and free up the mental bandwidth to start tinkering with oppositions. The hardest part about tanking is having the most visible fuck ups, which can be stressful in a random pugs scenario, but is honestly super chill when dealing with friends, acquaintances who will, at the most, rip the shit out of you for spacing out and goofing. Occasionally, you might have to do some quick thinking to save the situation from going south, so having good situation awareness is definitely a skill difference. I know what he's trying to say. But otherwise, I consider it the middle of the road when nerves are being your biggest opponent. Maybe a bit more stressful if you have a co-tank who doesn't seem to know the norms of co-tanking, so you have to start exercising your mind reading muscle, or becoming hyper vigilant so you can respond to whatever whimsical action they cook up. Wow, what an answer. I agree. I think tanking is hard because it really depends on your mental. Tanking has a lot of anxiety tied behind it. I will talk about this in another video in the future. Tanking anxiety is a real thing. So yeah, I do agree. You know, but if you're, it just depends on who you're playing with for tank. But for the most part, though, I will say it's easy. But you know, I'll get to my final opinion at the end of the video. I said it once and I'll say it again. Healer, damn. DPS and tank will always be the same. On the train tracks, each run pool. If things are so bad that you are fumbling on the regular, or your resources are broke, chances are you're already on the way to a wipe. Healers, on the other hand, have to deal with not just their standard healing layout for a fight, but if anything goes sideways, it is their job to fix it, which easily spiral as well. This can cause you to use CDs we normally wouldn't yet, and thus throwing us off into having to think on the fly and pay more carefully in the long run until things start to recenter themselves. Agreed. That's not a bad answer. But we have a response to that. Sedir says, but at the same time, if nothing goes sideways as most groups go, healer is mind-numbing boring. It contributes less than than anyone else. That's the... Yeah. Okay. I can't wait till I talk about it. I can't wait till I say what I think. They're all equally hard, and subjective opinion on what's harder versus easier is personal. Often things even fight dependent. It's not even equal across all classes in a given role. Damn. It all comes down to what you personally like and what you want for any individual role. And it's definitely worth breaking up DPS into 3 roles, because what a melee cares about is very different from what a caster cares about. True. It's very true. Here we got another kind of like... so to me, that was a very neutral answer. Encounter dependent. In dungeons, normal trials, raids, basically all counter content are about the same amount of brain dead easy. Yeah. In extreme, I would give more weight to healers because they're basically the ones with the extra chances to wipe runs, though not healing, meaning raid-wise enough while everyone is running around doing the same mechanics. In Savage, it's the same as extreme, except mechanics that resolve uniquely based on the role start appearing, and thus the difficulty starts shifting in favor of how easy each role solve is. Bonus points to them for being the de facto flex group. In Ultimate, it's about the same as Savage, except there's a bit more disparity in how hard mechanics are by role, when mechanics require different solves per role. Interesting. So he says just based off the encounter. Okay. Tanks is the most responsible class to play. You are the leader and heart of the party. A tank must know all the mechs guiding the way, and a good tank can carry even if all wiped and save the run. DPS are kind of a bit more complex after tanks because you have to press your read buttons to do damage and keep your rotations. While doing mechs, healers fall asleep. Just stay there and press one button. Also, healers are easy as PP to play. Not much brain needed. What the fuck? Yo. Oh, okay. I like that. Yes. Okay. Healer has to starve off the sleep-inducing boredom of spamming the same key for 70% of the fight. So I go with that. Yo. Yo, this healer shit is getting crazy. Oh my god, dude, that's so funny. That's so fucking funny, dude. All right, here we go. We got another long response. I think DPS could be the hardest, but out of all of these, one, depend on the fight itself. Some fights have a lot less or a lot more than for some roles. But two, DPS have a very wide berth of difficulty to using a job. Being the main contributor of DPS means messing up your rotation is going to be a massive loss compared to a GMB missing their last continuation hit on accident. Because once everyone gets comfortable with the fight, it's just keeping up with DPS, which is the main thing between pulling again or clearing. All rows OFC contribute to DPS, but if someone is 10% behind on healer damage versus being 10% behind on average on DPS, that is a stark difference. Yeah, that's true. Healers, I think progging can be the hardest. Tanks maybe wants a long time where positioning for mechanics matter much more often. Oh yeah, my bad. He's saying like for tanks maybe a long time ago where positioning for mechanics matters much more often. So pretty much like back in the day it was harder when you have to position things more. But it could be boiled down to a spreadsheet that does not require too much mechanical consistency to meet. Tanks at the moment I think are the easiest. They are in between for mechanical skill, but the lack of boss positioning needed at the moment on top of needing a similar spreadsheet for what to hit undo dying buttons. Though the increase in mets do make me wonder if there would be more stress on tanks going forward in Dawntrail alongside seeing hitbox for Black Cat in round 1. Yeah, okay. We're getting there, guys. Soldier Hawk. Dawn Trail better hurry the hell up so people will have something to do besides start slap fights online. Damn. If that's what y'all are doing, bro, like, I'm still clearing content, bro. Like, I'm kind of glad I didn't rush through this fucking game, because goddamn, I do not want to be in Limbs and Mimosa just slapping somebody. Come on now. Beastmaster, nice. DPS, straight to the point. That's the hardest. Let's see. DPS probably. Let's see here. Because in my experience, there's a pressure to do big numbers. I'm trying to skim through the rest of these and just get like to their main point. Tank feels the hardest role for me, but I think healing is more difficult. Yeah. Heterosexual, very nice. I start with DPS by far. I think that's where most of the pressure to optimize is. Toughest to start, tank. Tankxiety is real, it is. Toughest to play, healer. Having to be the babysitter for people who stand in AoEs is hard, especially when they blame you for their deaths. That's true. I'll get back to that. After maxing out healers or trying to tank DPS for the first time, I say tank. Maybe just because it's a new role for me, but juggling mets in a big pool while trying to make sure I keep hitting everything with my AoEs can be difficult when enemies don't pull close enough together. That's true. If I don't notice, for 2 or 3 rotations with the DPS could pull aggro, and they typically go down pretty fast. Yeah. One thing I can say for certain is that it is not healer. Wait, one thing I can say for certain that it's not healer. In fact, a healer isn't even needed much of the content. What? It's one of the reasons I'm moving away from the role. My average done experience is does the tank need healing? Nope. Guess I'll just spam 1 and throw up a DOT dot every 30 seconds. We'll get back to that. I guess to be fair, the age-old rule MMO for everyone who pulls aggro is to stop slow DPSing and drag the mob closer to the tank. So try to grab and keep all the mobs on you, but don't feel too bad if you didn't notice that one was slightly out of your AoE range initially. Yeah. Healer for sure. Every time there's a minor inconvenience to your job, you have to work all day to bitch on Twitter about it. Yo! Yo, this took a straight jab. Like, this took a straight right at the fucking healer in the game. Read that again, man. Healer for sure. Every time there's a minor inconvenience to your job, you have to work all day to bitch on Twitter about it. I think he's talking about that recent healer strike shit. All right. There's a couple of one that I want to go back to. See, we're about 34 minutes in, so how about Mugbert always wins? Healers are in a bit of a different situation that is not simple as a simple option on this poll. When your party doesn't know what they are doing in a fight, the healer job is a hard job in the game and it feels awful. When your party is clutch and knows exactly what to do, the healer has the easiest job in the game. The above is why I think healer kits are balanced the way they are. You make healers more complex and the first situation becomes more terrible. You keep healers kits simple and the second situation becomes more dull and repetitive. Now, I'm not saying what we've got now is the best balance between the two situations, but people have to see that balancing healers is not as simple as some people make it out to be. It's true. DPS toughest role is always easily DPS. DPS has to play optimally and consistently throughout a fight, which for some jobs involves fight specific rotations with little downtime, with the same mostly mechanics that everyone else has to deal with. Melee and Red Mage have an even harder time with how precise they have to be to get full uptime, but you have Summoner, which makes even the hardest content become way easier. So he's saying DPS is the toughest role. Healers, a strong points you could be given healers like Scholar and AOST for being pretty difficult once stuff starts getting going bad. But if you have a good DPS, the tanks typically falls off. Okay, so pretty much he's saying that like you can make an argument that like for SCH and AST, if things go bad, you're fucked. But if your party's good, then you're fine. And I'm hearing a lot of this on these comments, so we'll get back to that at the very end of the video. Tanks, I don't know, man. You press the funny don't die buttons and do the same. Since you do some of the more unique mechanics in the game. Team play heavy, but not mechanically. Adaptation hard. I do agree with this. I don't think tanks are heavy with mechanics and rotation, and they all do have a like don't die button. Yeah. DPS has a higher skill ceiling, thus should take it. But healers can be pretty close to certain scenarios, based off savage, and extreme. I think they're all quite equal. Each role has the difficulties, responsibilities, but I wouldn't say any role is really harder than the other. This is the one I skipped right here. So this is the last comment, guys, right here. All right. DPS probably. Why? Because in my experience, there is this pressure to do big numbers, per rotation, and higher end content. I even feel this in casual content. Whereas a support, you don't do big enough numbers that missing some uptime may mean between life or death. Or maybe it does, I don't know yet, to do ults 1 week, 1 stuff, yeah. That you also have a fairly simple rotation and do mechanics easier. OFC, this also depends on the content because some may be hard for supports and some may be pretty easy. But I'm saying this as a healer main that also plays DPS to Savage. Nice. That DPS is definitely not an easy role. Unless you go for Summoner XD. Yes, we all know Summoner is fucking easy as shit. LOL. Everything is quite telegraphed in Savage content that you can literally plan out your healing mitts so you always know what to expect and do. But it's nerve-wracking when you are progging and behind progging because your healing knowledge and adaptability is really put to the test. In casual content, tanks healers are brain dead roles to play. LOL. Okay, that was a lot of engagement, and I fucking loved every second of it. Every fucking second of it. So let's sum this all up, right? Despite everyone's opinion in their comments, so I want to say thank you for everyone who voted on Reddit. I'm gonna put a comment actually right now. Actually, let's put a comment here. Let me spell check that. Sweet. All right, so let's sum this all up. So without any debate, we know that healer is by far the one that won. So no matter what comment we heard, healer is the toughest role to play in the game according to Reddit at this time on a poll that I did in the community. Now, what do I think? Well, that was a lot to unpack. I would have voted healer. Now, let me tell you why. A lot of it is what you already heard me talk about in the comments that you just read on Reddit, but I do think it is content dependent. I do agree with everyone that said, hey, based off of Savage, Ultimate, Casual, things change, it's situational. I do agree, but I do think healer has two things that are tough about it. For one, yes, when you are going into a duty for the first time, and you are, it's your first run, healer can feel very hard because yes, you are the one that people do blame. This doesn't always happen though. But yes, typically if something goes wrong, people blame the healer, but most people don't now, but it still happens. So I feel that when people said that on my post in the comments, but mainly it's like you have to learn the mechanics, and if you fuck up the mechanics, then everyone dies. So it's a lot of responsibility to be a healer. Now, Also, yes, you have to kind of just fix things. Like if people just stand in AoEs and they just fuck up continuously, it kind of falls back on you, which is hard, because it can be hard to recover from people just not knowing what they're doing, and you have to really, really put the pressure on. This also makes sense because this is the role in the game that people don't want to queue in for. If you notice, like when you play a healer, it's an instant queue because of the responsibility factor that goes along with it, I believe, and the fact that people don't want to have to deal with that. Having to, deal with keeping the whole party alive when things can just go so bad. I understand that. You know what I mean? But for me, what really makes this the winner is you have to know all the... people are going to expect you to know all the mechanics of a fight, typically. Or you have to know the mechanics of a fight. And if you fuck up, you are the lifeline, and that lifeline is cut. Now, do I agree with tank being as low as it is? If I would have talked to you guys about this like 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I would say no. But now I do agree that tanking is easy. I mean, did they give you a button that just draws aggro? It used to be a lot different in the past, I heard, where you have to like do actual combos and really use provoke and stuff to get the mob on you. But now it's just a button and the aggro is just there. Now, tank is mental. Like it's as hard as you make it. A lot of people have tank anxiety, which means that like they freak out when things like, okay, like everyone's following you. Everyone has to depend on you. You are the leader. I do agree with that comment. You are the leader. You are the heart of the party. Yes, but it's really not that serious. Like the biggest thing about a tank that's hard is your own like anxiety, because actually pulling and holding aggro is very easy. Like once you get it down, but you have to get over that hump of anxiety first. And once that's done, you're good. You know what I mean? But as far as like mechanics go, it's easy in my opinion. You have a pretty much basic rotation, and you just have to use your cooldown at the right time. And you just have to, and this is for casual content. Now, I do agree with people that said ultimate and savage. You're absolutely right. I think tanks, could be hard in those modes because, as people were saying, I never made it that far, but you have to really optimize your tank stuff. Well, you're supposed to, and make the fight easier, right? But the reason why tanks are easy too is like you have a lot of chance to fuck up. Like you can literally fuck up and just like be fine. You can stand in a mechanic that would one shot a healer or DPS and just live. You know what I mean? So as of right now, I do agree with tank being the easiest. Okay, DPS was not far behind. Now DPS, here's the thing about DPS. At first I thought it was the easiest role in the game. Now I'm thinking that's not so true. DPS is by far the role that you would assume is easiest. Why? Because you don't have much responsibility, right? Especially when you're a new player. Say you just kicked on a Realm Reborn. Like, okay, tank healers, you start playing a game, but you're like, okay, well, man, DPS seems pretty easy because like all I'm doing is waiting for the tank to pull, and the healer's behind me, and I'm just hitting things. Well, there's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot more to it than that. It's actually quite difficult. The reason being is that like at higher levels, your rotation gets so complex that like it just stops being easy. Also, if you go too bad on your damage, it actually affects the whole fight. That means that like if you're a DPS and you're not optimizing like at all, it makes the fight hard for everybody else because the boss never dies. Well, the boss is slow to die because you're not doing the damage you should be doing. Therefore, more raid-wide mechanics hit the whole party, could cause a wipe. You know what I mean? So DPS is actually not that easy at all. You know what I mean? You have to really think a lot with the DPS. While I agree with people while dodging AoEs, mechanics, doing this kind of stuff, you need to learn like what moves are good, what moves are bad, because usually you have a very full hotbar, especially on the controller, to navigate through. But yeah, so this, I do agree with all of this. So in my vote, it will be healer, DPS, tank. This is correct. This is what I would vote as well. Now I will say, to comment on people saying that healer is boring, that's the second thing about this poll. It's like, yes, healer can be an easy fucking job if everyone knows what they're doing, which makes it a very kind of like brain dead, numb class. I do agree with this, where like, you know, your DPS is just one button, you know, stone, broil, dosis, and the one for astrologian. Just whoosh, you know what I mean? And it can be boring, especially when there's nothing to heal. And a lot of times, yeah, people are right. Yes, like you can be a healer, but notice that the tank never needs healing, especially if it's a warrior. Oh my god. So for casual content, you know, I would say healer is hardest to start off with, because you're just learning. People are learning the mechanics, and you have to really watch the team, and you have to fix mistakes. At higher levels, DPS gets pretty challenging. At low levels is easy. Tank is mental, but it seems hard, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's really just a thing you have to overcome, you know, within yourself. And you'll see that like it's actually very, very easy. So thank you guys for voting in the FF14 Reddit post. This was a great video. Went a lot longer than I expected, but that's okay, because I wanted to get everyone's comments read and at least kind of analyzed. You know what I mean? So yeah, without further ado, smash the like, smash the subscribe button, hit the bell if you fuck with your boy. All right, and yeah, I got a whole other video to do on another poll for Reddit, so let's get into it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.